Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of I Am Christina DiArcangelo. And I am so happy to have my first guest ever who's been on CD and the mastermind behind my podcast, really, Rye Russell. Welcome, Rye.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I was reflecting back on our first episode, and it is remarkable how far the show has come since then. And I'm really excited to see where it's going. There's just been a lot of impactful individuals on. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm just so excited. I remember when we first talked about it, and it was June of 2021. And you said to me, I think you're ready to do this now. And I'm like, are you sure? Because being on the other side of the table is easy. I could talk to anybody. But to be on this side is different, and you helped me see that I could do it. And I tried really hard in every single episode, honestly. And I've never told you this, but I tried really hard to bring it home, because I want to make sure I do things the way that you would expect me to and that you've counseled me to, because this is you too. It's not just CD, you're behind it. And I want to make you proud in every episode that I shoot.
That's amazing. Well, I think you make the whole team proud. So it's there's a lot of great individuals that work behind the scenes to make the show happen as well. And everyone just has a lot of fun with a production like this. And there's always so much to learn. And I think that's what's exciting about podcasting in general, but really anything that we do is just the opportunity to constantly be learning. Everything's evolving every day. And so it's just been a fun project and coincides with a lot of adaptation in other arenas as well.
Yeah, I love it. This has been exciting. And that's why I'm so happy to have you on today as like a true guest. The first one, of course, you were a guest, but it was my training wheels session, This time, now I'm confident and I'm ready to go, because I want to talk about what you're doing in Maine, because you just did something impossible that you've created in Maine. So let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. We are extremely proud to announce that we opened an adult use or recreational cannabis dispensary called Budz Emporium. And it's kind of a spin-off of a passion project of mine called WeedBudz Radio, where for the past 2 or 3 years, I've been interviewing some of the greatest minds in cannabis on my show, and really just felt like I learned a lot, and I wanted to really do something within the cannabis space that brought that knowledge to good use. And I found a beautiful building that I loved in a great location in the North Maine woods. And I originally started the process to open a medical caregiver dispensary. And after realizing that the licensing fee was very reasonable, that the application itself was like 2 or 3 pages. And it really concerned me more than anything. At the time, Maine had the adult use recreational program that was just launching, and they'd had this medical program open for, I think, 4 to 6 years, I suppose. And I could not believe, as an entrepreneur, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I couldn't believe the lack of regulation over the products that were going to be served to medical patients. And there is no mandate for testing of these products. So you can slap on a label saying that the THC content in one product is really whatever you want. And there's not much accountability for that. And I think, as most people, if you've ever tuned into WeedBudz as the show, or you've met me as an individual, safety is a really significant concern of mine. And we immediately started looking at the adult use regulations. And we knew it was going to be tough, and we knew it was going to be challenging. I don't know if we knew that or were prepared for how challenging it was. But when we reviewed the adult use program here in Maine, it really made sense that this was the arena for us. One, we want to be able to work with anybody and everybody, whether they're a local from around town or a tourist just visiting for the weekend. And we want to provide the safest products that everybody knows have been tested and meet a minimum requirement of standards, which I think is very important and critical, really, to protecting your business, but also protecting your patients. And so after reviewing all of that, we 100% decided that we were going to go down the adult use path into retail. And I think about halfway through the process, our grit was getting challenged. The level of documentation is significant. And again, for somebody that wants the safety and wants reasonable regulatory standards within the industry, I get it and can appreciate it. But you'll find packets where you may have just completed one that's essentially all the same questions, and you're providing all the same answers, but it's compliance for compliance, and it needed to get done. But it was a lot. And so, maintaining a building and keeping the utilities going throughout that process it's expensive. And it's scary, and it's definitely something I can see why a lot of entrepreneurs kind of start down that road and then I get a little timid or a little risk averse and kind of change their path a bit. But you've got the space, and you're holding on to it and developing that into the experience you're trying to create while managing the regulatory compliance components of the process. And there's so many layers to that we can get into as well. But ultimately, that is how we kind of found ourselves here, was which program was going to allow us to provide the best service and the best products. And so that is, ultimately why adult use was just the right decision for us.
Well, I'd like to commend you for not taking the easy way out, because really 3 pages, it's a couple of questions.
Yeah.
I mean, that's nothing. It would take you, because you're brilliant, like 10 minutes to complete and hand in. You purposely and willfully decided to go the other route, which was super painful. But you did that because you were not going to take the easy way out from a regulatory approach, which I think is a big thing to commend you for, because most people would have said, oh no, I have to do all of this. Like, no, I'll just take the easy way out and do this other thing over here. Most people aren't going to do what you did. And your whole team was working around the clock. You guys were working all the time on this, because I know, because I'm also your friend. And so I left you alone because I knew you were busy, working on this thing. And it was like every day. And not only did you have to deal with finding the building and doing the utilities, but you had to fit the building out too. So you had to do construction on top of it. And you're in Maine, where sometimes you have to jump out your window because you can't get out the front door properly. So,
it's so true.
I mean, it happened on one of our teleconferences. So that's why I know people. I mean, that's some grit there, and you're doing a lot of other things that are amazing. You had to stop, put the brakes on, and focus on this now for the next however friggin' long it took you to get it done. And you didn't give up. Most people give up. But you're
totally. There was a lot of opportunities to give up, trust me. And, ultimately, I think it's a testament, something that's unique and special about the way I operate any of my projects is a lot of times it's the same team. So even back from, one of the earlier days and kind of my first success story in the drive-in industry, there's individuals that were a part of that are still a part of this going into almost 10 years later. And so there's a real kind of thirst for knowledge, whether it's me, another team member, Ethan, Brooke, everybody wants to learn more. And I think that's what made this such a reachable task is it was a real unique challenge that brought all of our skill sets together. I'm awful with the nitty-gritty details of repetitive paperwork. Well, Ethan and Brooke were just incredible at kind of rising up and dividing that out into what needs my attention, what can they do, what can we have other team members to do, other members of the family that are participating in on this. And it was really miraculous how well the team was built to do this on top of everything else we had going on at the time, dealing with personal health things that were getting in the way, regulatory things that were getting in the way. This team was really designed, and I would say deliberately, but you can't prepare for some of the worst case scenarios that come up. And we were so brilliantly over prepared for some of those surprises that they took, adjustments. They took a week adjustment instead of a month. And so, to think about what we were able to accomplish in about 9 months is remarkable. But I think we did a good job of making it fun, even on the nights that were just so grueling and painful.
That's awesome. And, I love the fact that you talked about the team dynamics, because as an entrepreneur and, fellow CEOs that we are, it's important to surround ourselves with the best talent out there. And I just shot a TV interview before this, as you know, because we were a little bit delayed. TV never starts on time, as you know, right? And so I talked about this very thing. That's why I was smiling so much. Swear to God, 10 minutes ago because I got that question and I didn't even have to ask you that question. I didn't have to pass the ball. You already shot it in.
Yeah.
The hoop, that's exactly why I think we're successful in what we do, because we do things that's not what normal people do. Meaning one day you decided, okay, I think I would like to open up a dispensary. Yep, Christina, that's what I want to do. Hey, Mike Major, I want to do this. Hey, teams, I want to do this. Yeah. And you did it. Your family, you talking to your family, and you did it. And it wasn't like you had this playbook for this stuff. You were at the mercy of the regulators. And although the code says this, there can be an interpretation that means that. And so just like the law, we all know how the court system can be. So it was a tough thing to do, but you had the right people around you to succeed. And even on the bad days of having all the snow and then, stuff being delayed because of COVID-19 and supplies and things, it's all crazy, the world we live in today. We can't operate the way we used to 3 years ago, you and I. No. We can't. We've got to be prepared for the worst. And that's awesome that you did that preventatively, kind of looking ahead of where it could be just to be prepared. It's like being a good Boy Scout.
Yes, it had to have been something like that. Because it was just really beautiful when looking at it from kind of a step back of, me kind of out of the business for 2 or 3 months, but no significant loss to any portion of our business. And so individuals really stepped in and stepped up and filled gaps that they were comfortable and maybe kind of stretching their comfort a little bit, but comfortable enough to make decisions as, I would be interested in them making, or if it, might not have been something that I may have kind of decided with, they had each other to really bounce ideas off of and come up with the best possible decision moving forward. And, when I was able to kind of return and really be grounded to see where the path was opening up for us, it really allowed me to just be like, wow, these are some of the brightest minds. And yes, it's been a work in progress to develop a team like that around you. But again, it goes back to like, you can't be prepared for some of the things that comes up. And like, they were just so beautifully well prepared. It looked like we knew what we were doing.
That's awesome. I love that, because it just was like synchronized. It was synchronized chaos.
It was synchronized chaos to the max. Because you nailed it. There's no playbook. So anybody that has gone down this path, they're also recovering and recuperating and focused on the business that is now built. They're not necessarily taking notes and sending them back your way. Not to say that there aren't great peers. There's a lot of brilliant individuals that, because of the podcast, I can reach out to and say, hey, I'm doing an opening order for my retail shop. What percentage should be flower or cartridges or pre-rolls? And to, listen to these people that have done it and gone through it, be like, oh, flower is going to be first, cartridges and pre-rolls will be like 2 and 3, and kind of break it down. Well, that's more decisions that I've kind of learned before I've had to make them. So this industry is brilliantly collaborative. And, I think there's always going to be the individuals where, maybe the sandbox doesn't seem big enough for everyone. But I think there's enough individuals like us and, probably like anybody tuning in, that there's more than enough opportunity in this space. But the best way for it to really flourish is through collaboration. So 100%.
Yep. I mean, this is, how we run, with Avum, Spectral, Affinity Bio. I'm leaving APA out because I'm talking about business structure, not patients, because we're agnostic. We don't care if another transdermal patch company comes to us and says, hey, CD, I want to run a clinical study with my patch and pain. Am I going to say no? No, I'm not going to say no. Why? I don't care. Here's why. Because if we help develop this with them, right? They're doing their own thing. They have their own product, but we're helping them with the research. And then we're doing the Tele-Monitoring and the electronic data capture and the electronic patient reported outcomes for the trial. We're helping everybody, right? Doing this. I don't compete against myself. The only time we turn business down is when it's with people that do not have the same integrity that we have. Then we have to turn it down, because we've got big pharma people now that are tapping on the door saying, hey, you know what? We'd like to spend some money in cannabinoid research. And they're the dirtiest people you would ever met in, a back alley. You'd want to beat them up. Why would I want to do business with them? And I could retire next year, if I took their money, but I won't, because that's not what I'm here to do.
Nor can I see you retired anyway. So.
No. Oh, come on. I'd be bored. What would I do? No, but I'm saying, like, it would have been a big payday, which meant I could have invested in more technology for Spectral. I could have done more things for APA, right? We could have funded that education thing we want to do, giving out educational grants to kids, seniors, I could have done all that, but at the expense of what? My sanity, my heart, the way I work, I can't.
I think compromise is such a really critical component of business and successful business. But the one thing that we ultimately cannot compromise on is our integrity. And so I think that's, one of the things that we kind of overlook, where at the end of the day, everything can be a compromise here and there. Yes, unless it's your integrity that you're compromising. And, maybe it does have to do with value or perceived value. But ultimately, I think in industry like what we are tapping into right now, that level of personal accountability is important. And I think the more that we have it, then the more our peers getting in will be required to have it. And that's just a better, safer industry all around for everyone.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why you went through everything you did to open up your dispensary. It was one of the reasons was an integrity, value-based decision. I mean, you work with patients all the time through the nonprofit APA. You see these people suffering. You hear the horror stories of people taking stuff that they got at a gas station or something, God forbid, that's fake on a COA, or they don't even have a COA, or it was expired 10 years ago. All these horror stories that and you've heard on WeedBudz with all of the people that have come on your show. Like, we talked about research a long time ago when I was on your show. So why would you take the easy way out when you don't stand that way? So even just opening up this dispensary, as painful as it was an integrity-based decision.
100%.
Wow. This has been amazing today. I really appreciate you coming on, because I know you're super busy. You've got to man the store, literally, with people. You took time out to chat with me today. I really appreciate you coming on and talking about everything that you're doing. And I appreciate all that you do for all the patients that you touch, their lives every day.
Well, thank you so much. It has been an incredible journey being your friend and partner, and I'm excited for everything else that's not just coming out this year, but coming out in the future. So thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to tuning into more episodes of the show.
I'm excited to shoot them. This month I was shooting like a Mad Hatter, as you know. But I have to get them done. We need this done. We need to share our magic. We share our magic with people every episode, and that's why we do this. And, and the other reason is to remind people that at the end of the day, we are the same. Thank you for joining me and Russell. I am Christina DiArcangelo.